Good evening, friends. Tonight, we have ourselves a rare delight indeed. 3 true tales, each one plucked from the haunted soil of the South, shared by friends and family. So settle in close. Our first tale is called The Hollering Animals.
My grandmother was born in 1932, the youngest of 7 kids, way out in the Alabama pine woods. Their family was dirt poor, no electricity, no running water. I grew up hearing bits and pieces about that life, about the animals, the hard work, and how mean her father was. But there was one story Grandma told me that stuck with me, more than anything else. Sometimes she'd sit real quiet, eyes distant, and say, "You want to hear about how my daddy died?" And when she started talking, it was like being pulled back in time.
I was the baby of 7, 4 sisters, and 2 brothers. My daddy was 63 when I was born. He was a hard man, harder than anybody I ever met. Folks said he'd killed 2 men once. Nobody ever asked him about it. He didn't have money for nothing. We lived in a shack with gaps in the walls you could see daylight through. We bathed in a horse trough. That's just what we did. We kept animals, chickens, goats, pigs, and 2 old mules. But Daddy hated those animals more than he hated people. He kicked the mules till they near fell over. He'd stab the pigs with the pitchfork if they squealed too loud. The chickens, sometimes he'd wring their necks just 'cause they wouldn't hush. When I was 13, Daddy took sick. Fever got hold of him. He was burning up, rolling around in that old rope bed. He kept shouting, "Make 'em hush! Make 'em hush!" We thought he was talking about us kids, but he kept on. "The animals, they won't quit hollering. They're in here with me. They're all in here, looking at me. They won't quit hollering." I stood in the doorway, scared to go closer. He'd slap at Mama if she tried to wipe his face. He said he saw the goats standing at the foot of the bed, the pigs dripping blood from pitchfork holes, chickens perched up on the bedpost, staring with black eyes, and the mules. He said the mules was watching him with their ears laid back like they knew he was headed somewhere he wouldn't like. He said they'd come to drag me down with them. He hollered like that all night long, and by morning, Daddy was gone, and the house went quiet again.
Quite the ruckus from those animals, wouldn't you say? But don't you fret, my friends. We're just getting started. Next up, a tale that's dripping with history. It's called Buckhead Church.
In my hometown of Waynesboro, Georgia, every teenager eventually heard the same dare. Go into Buckhead Church alone at night. Shut the doors behind you. And listen. They say if you do, you'll hear the thunder of cavalry charging through the pine trees, the screams of men dying along Buckhead Creek. Back in December of 1864, nearly 7,000 men fought there. Union and Confederate forces clashing in swirling smoke and blood. Kilpatrick's cavalry stormed through, bridges were burned, and the pews of Buckhead Church were torn out and broken into firewood for the retreating soldiers. The first time I ever went, I was a kid with my father. He dared me to go in first, then slammed the doors and stomped his feet like a horse. Scared me half to death. But that's not the story I'm about to tell. When I was 16, me and some friends decided to hit Buckhead Church on Halloween night. We were piled into a Bronco 2, me, my buddy Cody, and 3 girls. We've been drinking, smoking, all the stuff teenagers think makes them invincible. I was the only one in the group who'd ever been to Buckhead before. We pulled up around 11 p.m., half lit and feeling brave. We stood there reading the historical marker, telling the girls about the legend, that if you went in alone and shut the doors, you'd hear the sounds of horses charging and men dying out in the darkness. Cody decided to go in first, Buddy took one of the girls with him because she refused to go alone. I complained that broke the rules. We went quiet and pressed our ears to the door. And all we heard was Cody and the girl making out. So much for ghosts. The other two girls refused to go in, so I decided I'd do it myself. But I was spooked enough that I went in with my knife out. Not that a knife would do me any good against a ghost. Outside, my friends just couldn't keep quiet. I told them to shut up for a second. That's when Cody yelled out that they were going to walk across the bridge to the old cemetery in the woods. I stayed behind, standing alone inside the church. I sat down on one of the old wooden pews. At first, it was dead silent. I figured the scariest thing in there was splinters, but then I thought I heard talking way off in the distance. I figured it was just Cody and the girls, but it sounded strange, like too many voices. Then, ever so faintly, I swear I started hearing horses, hooves, and a low roar like a commotion, men yelling, maybe even shots. But it was so faint, my own heartbeat in my ears felt louder than anything else. I leaned forward, straining to hear, and suddenly, blam! It sounded like a gunshot, but it was just Cody beating on the door, yelling, "Come on, dude! Damn!" I stormed out, my heart in my throat. Cody handed me a swig of Seagram 7, like that would calm my nerves. We decided to check out the old graveyard. It was spooky, with old stones half sunk into the ground, trees leaning over like they were trying to listen. But at the end of the day, it was just a graveyard in the woods. But when we came back to the Bronco, maybe 60 yards away from the church, something stopped us cold. A little tea light candle was lit on the ground right at the back of the SUV, flickering like someone had just set it there. We all freaked out. Thought maybe someone was hiding in the car. Me and Cody flung open each door, knives and a stick in hand, looking like two idiots ready to fight a ghost. But there was nothing. No sign of anybody. We never heard another car. Never saw anyone out there. We got the hell out of there right after that. And I've never gone back inside Big Buckhead Church at night since.
Our final tale is a story tangled up in family secrets, old curses, and something crawling under the floorboards. This one's called The Woman Under the House.
There's not much that creeps me out, but there's one story my mom told me that still makes my skin crawl, even now. My mom grew up in South Carolina. When she was 12, her family moved into a little white house right in town. I've got a picture of it. It looks harmless enough. Just a plain white house, green shutters, chain link fence out front. But under that house was a crawl space. Dirt floor, brick piers, deep shadows, barely enough space for a grown person to belly crawl through. Folks around town said that house had a past. The man who owned it before was accused of slowly poisoning his wife, feeding her something that kept her sick, stuck in bed until she finally died. After she passed, my grandfather's boss helped him buy the house cheap. Figured it was a good deal, but things went sideways. The first day they moved in, my mom was outside exploring. The sun was bright, hot enough to shimmer on the siding. My mom was rounding the back corner of the house, just about to call for her brother, when she froze in her tracks, because she saw a woman floating across the backyard. Not running, not walking, floating. The woman moved fast, gliding above the grass, arms pinned tight against her sides, stiff as a corpse. Her long black hair hung forward, hiding most of her face. She wore a pale, old-fashioned dress, stained and dirty around the hem, billowing just slightly behind her like it was caught in a wind my mom couldn't feel. My mom said the woman's eyes were wide open, staring straight ahead, unblinking. And then, without slowing down, the woman flew headfirst through the open crawlspace door, like she was sliding into water. No bending, no ducking, just gliding under the house. My mom said the sunlight hit the woman's hair for just a second before she disappeared into pure blackness. And then there was nothing but stillness. She stood there paralyzed, heart hammering in her ears. She felt a chill crawl across her shoulders like cold fingertips brushing her skin. Then she bolted inside, shaking so hard she dropped a box of dishes. But nobody believed her. They said it was just nerves from moving into a new place. A couple days later, my mom was helping unpack boxes in the attic. It was stifling up there, heat pressing down like a heavy hand, dust swirling in beams of light. She was shuffling boxes when she discovered a loose floorboard under her foot. It lifted as if it wasn't even nailed down. She pried it away to find a small wooden box. Inside was a dried, shriveled chicken foot. But that wasn't all. Underneath the foot was a lock of hair tied with a piece of faded red ribbon, and a tiny glass vial, sealed tight with wax, filled with something dark and thick as syrup. My mom didn't know what any of it meant, but old folks around town said those things were left behind for a reason. Protection spells, curses, warnings. After that day, the house was never right. My grandparents started fighting more. Money kept disappearing. People in the family got sick for no reason. My mom said it felt like something was leaking out of the shadows, under the floorboards. Something mean, something watching. Eventually, my grandmother called an old psychic she knew. The woman came into the house, silent as a shadow. My mom said she remembers the psychic tapping her fingers along the floorboards, listening. And then she said, "Right here. This is where the bad energy is hiding." The old woman cleansed the house, but nothing really changed. For almost 20 years, my grandparents' life stayed turbulent, like the house itself was a wound that refused to heal. Eventually, they boarded up under the house, sealed it shut so nothing could crawl or float out again. My mom never went near that crawl space after that. Even now, she swears what she saw was real. And every time I drive past that little white house, I feel that same chill my mom felt. And I think to myself, nope. Because if there's anywhere a spirit might still be lurking in my hometown, it's under that house.
The veil draws shut once more, and our guest from beyond fades into the hush of candlelight. You've done well to linger this long, friend. Not everyone has the stomach for such company. But should you ever feel that cold breath on your neck, or hear a whisper that don't belong to the living, just return here to the Seance Society, where the dead speak and the living listen. Like and subscribe to our channel for more ghastly tales. Oh, and don't forget your creepy cocktail recipe. It's buried down in the description.